All right, everyone. So if you've been listening to the show, you know that we put out a call to action for the community to have you tell us if you're stuck, why that is. And as we looked for patterns to see how we could better serve the community, one of the things that came through was, I feel like there's no one speaking to me where I am. I feel like one of the things I'm dealing with is, while all these things are great, I don't have time for these long, extended hour-plus long podcasts. I barely have five minutes that I can scratch together. And I would love some content that has me in mind. And as we looked at our community, we realized that's more than a single individual. That represents a huge spectrum of our audience. And as we were looking to see, well, what would it look like to better serve, this portion of our community, we started to engage in talks with Jillian, who writes over at MontanaMoneyAdventures.com. And if you remember, we've actually had her on the show at least 2 times, and her story is just absolutely unbelievable. And I think she brings to the conversation a level of empathy and understanding and compassion that, frankly, of all the people we've interviewed, is unparalleled. And, when I think about some of the content that she's produced, and also some of the conversations we've had behind the scenes, it gets me very excited for what the future brings. And Brad, I know both of us, we started to have this idea simmer. What if we could do a podcast with her? What if we could help produce something and bring something out that takes these incredible characteristics that she possesses, and at the same time take that energy and apply it back to these people that really are looking for this type of content?
Yeah, no, I agree completely. And yeah, I mean, Jillian is just one of those people who you feel instantly comfortable with. She just, like you said, empathy. It just exudes out of her. She's someone you want to spend time with. She's someone you want to get to know. And I mean, we have said privately, Jillian is just a superstar. There's just something special about her. And yeah, we started talking about what would it look like to have another podcast. And Jillian's name was at the very top of that list. And yeah, we've got something real exciting brewing today.
So Jillian in the studio today, actually our first our second in-person guest. I think Ed grabbed that mantle first, but you are just a half step behind him, our second in-person guest. Welcome to the Choosify podcast again, and so excited that you're joining us for this adventure.
I am so excited to be hanging out in Richmond. This is awesome.
From the Midwest to the East Coast.
Oh, it's so much warmer here.
Yes. Yeah, you said it was 0 degrees in Montana the other day?
0 degrees.
Well, you had this wonderful retreat that I believe you had decent weather for, actually pretty good weather for, but the next day after everybody left, a little temperature drop.
A little cold.
So we just said we're making this announcement, and we hinted at it, but definitively we are partnering on a podcast which is going to be launched at the end of this year, beginning of 2020, and the title is going to be Everyday Courage. And I tell you, I've had the chance to let that title just simmer, and it just warms my soul. But for our audience, why does this podcast exist?
I think as women, we've gotten to this point where there's a lot of pressure to do all the things and to have all the things. But the problem is all of the things have gotten a lot bigger. Like, my mom used to crush it on a birthday party with like a sheet cake in the 80s. And like, that was winning. If you just invite your friends over and you just let everyone know we're going to hang out for an afternoon, you're crushing it. Like, you're an awesome mom. And now it's like Pinterest unicorn rainbow sprinkle cakes. And there's so much pressure to be all the things to all the people, that the reality is we're not leaning in to the things that actually really matter to us in our finances, in our careers, in our life. We're spread so thin that we're just tired and discouraged and sometimes overwhelmed. So the idea behind Everyday Courage is that we can just have a little bit more courage every day to set boundaries, to say no, to have hard conversations, to prioritize what matters to us, to get clarity on that, and then to go out into the world and not be everything, but to kind of be too much for the things that really are us, that are true to us, that are true to our goals and our values and our purpose for being here in the world. And so that's what I'm hoping this, in a very small container, in a very short little episodes, because we don't have a ton of time.
I was actually going to ask you about that. And one of the things when we were talking behind the scenes is you said, so many podcasts, and I guess we're guilty to some varying degree. So many podcasts are so long. Like as a mom with so many different responsibilities, I don't have time for a 2-hour episode. I simply don't. And in fact, if I give someone 15 minutes and they haven't gotten to the point yet, I'm viscerally angry at them. So just like explain that to our audience and why that is kind of defining your goals for the cadence of the show.
Yeah, especially for me with 5 little kids, I'm interrupted all the time. Like, I just don't have long, luxurious, quiet, free blocks of time in my day. I've probably got like 10 minutes. And I love to be able to finish things. I love to check things off. I love to cross things off the list. I love to feel like I'm keeping up on things. And so when I see like, oh, I'm 20-hour-long episodes behind, I just feel overwhelmed and kind of like, oh, there's one more thing I'm failing at in life. But if I like show up at school pickup and I'm 10 minutes early and I'm like, sweet, I could like finish an episode and just have that little bite-sized chunk of encouragement and positivity and inspiration. And maybe it's something heartwarming that like powers me through my day. And I finish it without like small humans interrupting me. Yeah, I know that I would super appreciate it. So,
Yeah, Jillian, I totally agree. There's something about the stress of having all those podcasts back up on you. And, for me, I listen in 1.5x. So you could actually get a 15-minute episode done in 10 actual Earth minutes, which is kind of cool.
Brad, typical, stepping in with a solution.
Yeah. So you have a little more leeway there. But for me, I love this concept because we look at financial independence as this umbrella for living a better life. And I love when you're talking there about, just getting a little bit better in just different aspects and what it means to you personally. And I think that people are looking for inspiration. They really are. And they're looking for just little tips to live genuinely a better life. So, yeah, I personally am incredibly excited to see what you put together here.